going on, DJ Nation? Kenny Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast this week for the players. Gotta have that caps, gotta exclamation marks, all that fifth major, whatever bullshit. I'm ready as usual. I am here with the GPP King, the Babe Ruth of GPPs, Tyler Tamboline, calling his own shot this past week. What a week for you, brother. How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing good. Yeah. The secret is, Kenny, you just do that every time. And so when it actually happens, then you can screenshot it. So every night, 12, 10 a.m., just early in the morning, go post that to somebody, and then you can post it the next day. But it was a great week. Showdown streets were awesome. Had another good week in NBA. So really nice DFS week. Love the show. Want to get into it. Want to talk all the stuff. Kitayama nails down the stretch. We'll get into all that. Before we get into it, though, I want to remind everyone very quickly, this show is brought to you and presented by PrizePicks.com. Head on over to PrizePicks.com. Use promo code MMN. They actually do have a few early lines up this week for birdies or better. We have tee times. We can see the weather. You can keep an eye on that stuff throughout the week and get over there, but it's an easy site to use. Pick'em DFS, props, picks, and plays, all different ways. That's what they like to say. Use that promo code MMN. Get 100% deposit bonus up to your first $100. Now's the time to get in. You got the players, everything leading up to the Masters, the majors, some other big tournaments that we'll have coming up. So check out PrizePicks.com. Kenny, big week for the golf scene, everything going on, talking about designated events and all this. And then Kurt Kitayama just goes and ships it on all these dudes. So incredible stuff. Great to see him get the W. That putt on 18, I mean, the bounce back from the triple, just everything that you could talk about with Kitayama, just some incredible stuff. What did you think of the event? How was your week? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, nobody wanted to win except Kurt. It's basically what it looked like, right? I mean, of course, these guys are trying to win, but I mean, they were struggling down on Sunday, and Rory was talking about how he doesn't think that people want to watch bogeys change the leaderboard. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a great tournament to watch. I mean, Saturday was amazing. So much good golf. The coverage was so much better on Saturday too. You got to see a lot of golf shots. I don't know what the difference is between Saturday and Sunday. But Sunday was just horrible. Once again, Saturday, I thought I saw a lot of good shots. I mean, ESPN Plus is a great value. You get to see a lot of golf with the ESPN Plus, even side by side going at the same time with the Golf Channel. I mean, Kitayama, I mean, the stones he has on 17, that putt, no one made that putt. No one made a putt in like an hour and a half. And then Kitayama drains that putt on 17, comes back, rolls it up. He's not that good of a putter, but from what it looks like to me, like courses where there's like the proximity to the hole is like larger than average, might be a good idea to use him because the guy can roll deep. He was hitting some speed bombs out there and lagging nice putts there, to 2-3 feet from 40-50 feet away. Of course, long iron play. I can never get Kitayama right. I mean, it just worked out in long iron play and long proximity on approach shots to giving him chances on those long putts. I mean, he was a 9 under on Friday, and he won at 9 under. Those 72s though were like some of the strongest 72s you can shoot. On Saturday, I used him in Prize Picks. I went against him. Thought he'd shoot 72 or worse. Comes in, gets that OB on the front 9, comes back out, birdies like 3 of the last, 6 holes to get back to even par for me to push that bet on Prize Picks. And then on Sunday, he hits another one out of bounds by like 2.5 inches. Yeah. Comes back out on the back 9. I'm thinking it's over. I fell asleep a little bit. Like I ate like $50 of the Arby's. Like at noon, and I just went to like a food coma. And I woke up and Spieth was in the lead. Kitayama was like, a 2 back. After that triple on the front, he just grinds his way for 7 straight pars on the back 9, which was saying something because at that point in time, in the afternoon, the course is playing some of the hardest we've seen, even with no wind, just because those greens are icy greens. No one can make a putt. Guys who Scheffler missing putts all over the place. Really incredible. The leaderboard was sick. You know what I'm saying? One good thing for me. I mean, my casting cornerstones are 4 for 4. I had Rory who finished second. Mullinax who finished 9th, who was my punt play, and then I had Sungjae who finished 21st, and Zalatoris who finished 53rd. My other two guys, I had one missed cut, didn't even sniff the cash line. Didn't even sniff the cash line. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. You know what I'm saying? Those cash game cornerstones were pretty good. I didn't have the winner, but I had second place. I had two guys in the top 10. One of them at $6,400. Still no cash. It's so bitter, personally for me when it comes down to it. And then of course I woke up from that nap and I thought my GPP hopes are over. I had a lineup going like 68th with five of my golfers still left with the leaders going into the back. And that lineup finished 775th again. So that was my week. But the leaderboard was sick. Lots of good play. We saw Rory up there. We saw Rahm struggle. Going in there 7 under and shooting, 78 to finish over par. I mean, Scheffler was in there. Here's one thing I got to talk about Scheffler. I wasn't really sure if he would last. I mean, the motherfucker looks like he's doing the goddamn crip walk when he hits his drive. You know what I'm saying? His feet he's looking like he's doing the fucking crip walk when he hits the drive off the tee. And I'm like, there's no way a guy can be this consistent with that type of footwork off the tee. But he's proven me wrong. The guy's just top contender every big event that you see. I mean, you never see him outside the top 10 in these huge events. The guy's just a battler. I mean, the guy's out there. Rory coming back, didn't know that he was in the lead going into 14. He said that today. I don't understand how these guys don't look at scoreboards. Rory said he didn't know he was in the lead going into one of the hardest holes there, and so he thought he was still losing. And so he went aggressive off the tee and he ended up bogeying that one and bogeying the next, took him out of contention. I mean, what are these guys doing? Why not look at the scoreboard? Is it faux pas? Is it superstition? I mean, when you're that close to the end, I mean, your caddy's got to give you a nudge on that or something. I mean, I didn't understand that at all from Rory. I've been talking. What you think of that, Tambo?
I think that's one key thing you said at the end. And it's obviously to each their own. There's guys that say they look. Kitayama actually said he looks at it. You have to. He said that's how you know. But also it puts some pressure. In that sport, it's different. We joke about it all the time in the Discords and the DFS stuff where people say the superstition is, every time I look, my lineup, I see what I need bad to happen. It just happens to me. And if I don't look, my lineup just does well because I don't pay attention to it. And who knows, I just find myself in the cash. But that's uncontrollable. On the golf course, you have to make your strategy based off of that. So like you said, how does Harry not let him know? Someone said today, I think, unforced error could be. Maybe it probably wouldn't really have changed. It could have changed it. You don't know what shot he's going to hit. But I'm saying to not know what you need to do on a certain spot, there has to be, that is part of your strategy going into these holes and these things, knowing where you sit on the leaderboard. So I know some guys say early on in the tournament, they just put their head down. It's a game against yourself. Put up the best.
I mean, back 9 on Sunday's different, man.
You got to find some stuff out there. I agree with you. I mean, overall tournament was great. You talked about Kitayama down the stretch, all that stuff. Shout out Tim Tucker. That was brought up, jokes aside, but him and, won it with Bryson. I had to go read the story today. Someone brought it up to me because he was on Svensson's bag for a while there. And I guess he ended up recommending, he wanted out of the full-time caddy game. So he recommended his buddy to Svensson. He was all good. He was out of it. But the place he works out of now or whatever, I think it's, is it Bandon Dunes? Maybe I have to look it up again. I read the story quickly today, but Kitayama's brother has something to do with that. And then that's what hooked him up. He ends up saying, I'll go back on this kid's bag. He's a up and comer that I definitely am interested in. So hops back on with him, gets the job done. They say he's one of the better green readers too. So you talked about, first of all, those 7 pars are all incredible. There's some birdies in there because in the sense that par was a very good score. So it's that is like making a birdie in some cases. And then you look at some of the other stuff, making it on 17 when nobody could, and then almost dropping it in, almost had the Tiger Woods moment of the Nike symbol.
It was so sick.
In for Kitayama with the TaylorMade symbol, but it still paused there nicely. I'm sure they'll find a way to use it. The players, big time event, API, designated event, big time prize for Arnold Palmer Invitational. So getting ahead of ourselves here, the players this week, a very big prize, even bigger than last year's biggest prize pool ever at a designated players this year. So I think it's 25 million for this week that we're going to see. It's pretty incredible stuff. But some other guys, you didn't even go on the rant yet about your boy Spieth. 3 missed 5-footers, left the win on the table. Basically, he lost by 2. So there was 3 putts there. Again, it's butterfly effect, all these other factors people bring up, but you got to make those. Something's going on. It's been nonstop forever now. Cantlay looked really solid. The guys that didn't want it, Scheffler, Hatton, English, they had so many chances there in the middle. Obviously, Spieth had his. We just talked about it, but just in general, Hovland thought he would have, it was not Sunday Hovland. He was +3 Hovland when everybody else was even or better. Scheffler was +1, but the rest were even or better. So looking at that, that was interesting. And then your boy Mullinex played him in round 4 showdown, won me a couple tickets to the Mega this week. So you know what, it was in my head was you texting me on Thursday saying you're going to win the $5 this week, and you have Mullinex, you had all these guys all over, and I was like, oh, kind of think of that guy might just come through on Sunday again. So I like that play. Rom, crazy stuff. Zal, you know, what is he still injured or not? We say he was, and then he plays well. Then we say now he's healthy and he's not up there. Like, what are you going to do with some of these guys coming into this week? And then Hideki, Fitzpatrick, guys like that we'll have to talk about when we get in for this week. But Davis Riley finally comes through a little bit, a huge round. I'm not sure what course he was playing on Sunday, but 6 under. But I'm always happy to see him do well. So
Webb
went off on Sunday.
7 birdies in a row.
Yeah, Webb really went off on Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, Spieth pissed me off. Of course, I had the Spieth outright. I had going into the final round, a Spieth outright. I had a JT outright, and I had Cam Young live at 40-1. And under Cam played okay. He finished 1 under. JT couldn't make a putt. He just sucked all day. But Spieth, man, I thought he had it. I thought this was going to be it. You know, the golf gods finally shining down on me, giving me some redemption from that Morikawa bullshit that we had to go through at the beginning of the year. That fell apart. Spieth really made me angry. It made me almost not enjoy Kitayama's win as much as I should have, because, I mean, it was a great win for Kurt. I mean, unbelievable fortitude, mental fortitude to do what he did. Well, it was pretty incredible. I mean, especially since, you know, he's had 3 runner-ups and he's lost to, like, Rahm, Xander, and Rory by a stroke, you know. So pretty, and when it came to my cash lineup, I'm just talking about this going through. The reason why I lost is because Keegan and Hatton were 2 of the highest owned in double ups, and I didn't have them. And now I'm going to keep the same strategy. On 1 week is not going to change me, because I still think that, like, Sungjae, Zalatoris, and JT are you know, or who do I have? I don't remember who I had. Zalatoris, Sungjae, and Rory, I think, maybe, or something like that, as in my cash game corner. So I think those 3 have a better chance than Hatton or Keegan to play well and have a high finish. It just didn't come out that way. So I don't think I'm going to change my strategy with that 1 punt play, bunch of studs. Definitely going to do it this week, going a little crazy with my punt play, because I'll go over it. I'll probably give out my whole lineup today, just so I can explain my train of thought of why I picked this last guy to be my cash game cornerstone. So you just hold on, listen to that. Anything else before we move on?
I was just going to say quickly, that was another thing too. Like, I know the conversation around the weather waves, because again, last year, we're at the anniversary now of the weather waves debacle, but I think people confuse this very often in DFS, especially PGA DFS specifically, of weather waves and wave stacking, because stacking for the weather is something you do. Like last week, we thought there could be a potential with PMAM, all that. I'll go to that in 1 second, but there is people that just stack the waves every week. Like we've talked about it plenty of times, based on, you know, sometimes the guys that go through PMAM, maybe a little less on their mind on Friday morning. They just got to shoot their number, hope they make the cut, versus guys that have to make their number. Like, you can stack a wave some weeks just to be different. And that's kind of one thing that came up. But just of note, like, of the chalk last week, almost all of it ended up being the PM guys, besides, I think, Scheffler, who was in the morning, and then everybody else was up there. But if you look at the board, someone said today, like, how'd your weather waves work out? Again, did people from both sides of the weather get up there? Yes. But Kitayama was PMAM. So listen to this. Of the chalk, Rory, Cantlay, Hatton, Keegan. Rory's T2, Cantlay and Hatton were huge ownership from that PM wave, T4. Keegan was huge ownership from that wave, T10. Kitayama was in the afternoon. Boom, there's your lineup. Land on one more PM guy. Again, with all those other AM guys, the 4 chalk PM guys smashed. They were 4 of the top 7 owned. That's why it's not all about, did the weather actually work out on paper, when people are trying to figure that out. And I'm trying to bring more strategy pieces to the chat, to the pod, and just try and talk through it. I got another one we'll go to when we go to the tiers, but just of note, everyone wants to base it off that. You do have to factor in some of the other stuff, but it was a great week for the chalk. I know that much, with those 4 plays being up top. I was much happier using the weather waves in the showdown, where I just had a rule of at most 2 in the afternoon, and the 2 guys in the afternoon that played well were JT and Sung JM that helped me get up to the top. So great week all around. Lister League, if we can go there, I want to talk.
Let's talk about the schedule. Let's talk about the new schedule the tour is going with next year. I don't know if you guys don't know, they're making all these elevated events no cut. They're going to make it 70 people. I think it's 8 events or 12, Tamba. How many? I'm not sure exactly.
I was going to say the average of 10 when you said all these and all the whole world snaps because they act like every golf event in the world is going to a no cut. But we might be on different sides here. So let's go ahead.
Here's what I think. I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, me too.
I have no problem with this. Now, obviously, this is a money grab for the elite players. This is exactly what it is. But they've been underpaid for so long. They deserve more money. I am not going to talk down on the players here because this is what they want. Now, they're not being honest about it. Just like Liv isn't being honest. The people who went to Liv, they weren't being honest about it. The only reason they went was because of the money. The only, and these guys are saying, we're going to grow the game by changing it this way. That's not the reason why they did it. The reason why they did this was so they can get more guaranteed money into the hands of the best players on tour. Okay. And that's fine. They deserve the money. And it's different than Liv because they actually still have to earn it.
Thank you. But I was about to disagree with you because I'm going to jump in all right now because it pisses me off. People say this. It's like, that's the most annoying part. It's not a lie. You're allowed to be good at golf and get better. Kurt Kitayama, someone posted today, look at his fucking grind that he had to go through to get to this moment and all that shit to then now he collects 3.6 million and ships it and gets to be one of the elites. Look at Max Homa a year ago. I know everyone used him as the example, as the buttercup that, he was saying it, but he forgets that if this, then that. Yeah, if this, then that, a bunch of shit in golf. If Liv doesn't happen, maybe this stuff doesn't happen as soon as it did. All those factors, you are allowed to get better at something and get my mantra. Nobody cares, work harder. Stop whining. Get better, go play better golf. You're allowed to win a tournament. If you don't want to be there, go to Liv. If you think there's better shit on the other side, you can't get like James Hahn stuck in the middle. Now today, I'm a 41-year-old. I can't compete with them. My best is behind me. I just want to leave the game in a better spot. Well, you've been begging to get on Liv and they don't want you. So
I got no problem with what James is saying because it's true. It's true. If the PGA Tour, if the PGA Tour came out and just said, this is about money. We got to pay our high guys.
If you know business, it's not. That's what drives me nuts about this.
It's about getting it's about getting the top players
losing sponsors ratings. They're losing sponsors ratings. They're getting crushed.
It's about getting the top players the money they deserve.
That's part of it. That's not what it's all about. This is not Liv 2.0.
That's exactly what it's about, brother. That's
exactly
what it's about.
You're so wrong.
How am I wrong?
That's a part of it. It's absolutely a part of it. It's not the only reason they're doing it. Like, here's the thing. Here's the best example. Max Homa. Everyone says Max Homa's the man.
Because they have to find a way to keep these top players happy and not leave. This is their way.
That's a huge part of it, but it's not the only reason. I got no
problem with that.
Not the only reason. It's not.
That is the only reason.
It is not.
Look at the fucking ratings. It's not about growing the game.
They're losing ratings.
They're losing sponsors. The money they deserve.
They can't.
That's what it's about.
It's not.
There's nothing else.
It's not. You're
lost. They're making the product worse. Supposedly, I think it's going to be fine. I think the leaderboards are going to be fine on Sunday. We're going to see the best guys out there. But honestly, we want to see cut events, right?
I do. I play DFS. It's my favorite part of it. Well, I'm saying I can't control. We say everyone thinks we're so important. We do fucking golf podcasts and talk on Twitter. They don't care about us. They really don't.
I don't care about us either. This whole thing is about the top players getting the money they deserve.
But that part is not the only reason. The week before,
it's the main reason.
Okay, but
it's the main reason. If Liv didn't happen,
you want to keep talking.
Be getting this fucking money.
You think you know it all? That's what I'm saying. It's
not true. They would not be getting this money if Liv didn't happen. They have to find a way.
A week ago, Kenny, everyone was bitching. Oh, the Honda field's fucking shit. It sucks. Guess what? This will help make the Honda better. That's part of it. This will help. So, by the way, it won't be the Honda next year because they lost their sponsor. Now, if they get better people there, we can get all these events spread out a little bit. You can win your way in. Nathan Hubbard, did you read the thread about Nathan Hubbard that he put out about his brother Mark? That was probably the best thread of what anybody said. That is actually a legit reason why even a guy like Mark Hubbard, who's on the outside looking in, is okay.
They can earn their way up.
Correct.
They can earn their way to make the money they want to make.
So it's not all about the money.
No, it is about the money because then these guys on the bottom, what it's going to create is a feeder system for all these other events. That's what these other events are going to be. They're going to be feeder systems to try and get into this top 70 and get into these elevated events.
And what are these elevated? Is that better?
And the reason why you want to get into these elevated events is to make more fucking money.
Everything in business is making money. I'm saying, but the PGA side of it.
I'm talking about the players. I'm talking about the players. Okay. They deserve more money. This is the way the PGA says they're going to get this money.
They're getting more money either way, but Mark Hubbard can get into this crew and make more money for himself.
Exactly. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying.
You're saying it's all about the money. I'm saying there's other pieces to it that they have to do it for the product. Here's my thing. Everyone says Max Homa's the man. They all want to be best friends with Max Homa. He goes out and says his piece, which really spoke for everybody, in my opinion. And everyone now said, oh, Max Homa's full of shit. He's one of the elites now, so you can't it's bullshit. He was saying this stuff on No Laying Up podcasts and stuff back in the day while he had to grind his ass up too. And then when he became good, now what? Now he's a liar? And all this is
I don't know. I don't know where you get that from what I'm saying. What everybody else is saying. What I am saying is the PGA Tour needed to give the elites more money because they deserved it. They are underpaid. The top players in golf are underpaid for their sport. And they saw people leave for LIV because they had guaranteed money. Okay? So the PGA Tour had to come up with some plan to keep these guys up top happy. This was their plan. Now, it also helps that the sponsors, because you're going to get these great fields. You're going to get these weekend fields. It also helps the TV because you're going to get reduced people. You could start 3 off the tee at 11 o'clock, and basically you could see almost everyone you want. It's going to help with that. But the bottom line is it's about getting these guys paid. That's what it is. And I got no problem with guys getting paid. They deserve. I don't have a problem
with them getting paid, but you just contradicted yourself when you just explained what could be better for the game of golf, the PGA Tour, and for the fans. You just explained
it's going to be better. All those things are going to be better.
Right. So that was my point. Not all the money.
The main reason
everyone wants to focus on that.
The main reason it happened, the number one reason, is because they needed more money. That's the number one reason.
They're all not the really making
yes, are money. True. All
they're making almost the same money as this year. They've just cut the field size down and got rid of the no cut. They didn't say the prize pool are jumping 10 million apiece.
It's guaranteed money for these guys. Now the difference is they have to earn it.
Yeah,
they have to go in there. They have to play these events. They have to play these events
well. They were already giving like $500,000 guaranteed to these people this year to make sure that they had their expenses covered.
What
and everyone
the fuck is $500,000 for these guys? It ain't shit.
What a made cut is typically worth 30 to 40K.
I'm just saying these elevated events. I'm telling you, the only reason they're doing it is because of the money, Tam. I don't. Not the only reason. That's the main reason. Now there's different pitfalls back and forth where it's going to help this. It's going to help this. Yeah, it's going to help this.
To say though is when everyone just wants to focus on that. We know that's why. That's why they did it this year. That's why we have 12 designated events. Everyone got up in arms about this cut thing, then found out, oh wait, it's only actually 8 to 10 events. So yes,
I don't care about the cut.
I hate the cut thing more than anybody. I want to play DFS golf.
Doesn't bother me. The cut thing doesn't bother me.
But I'm saying that
because it's only like 8 to 10 events. It doesn't matter.
People start freaking out that it's not like the line you said at the start is what everybody says is that everyone's lying and it's not about the fans. It's not about the game. It's not about this, but there is still some effects that come from it that are still good.
Okay. Yes, there is. But the number one reason they did it was to get these motherfuckers paid. You have to realize that.
Liar? Is Max Homa a liar?
I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. These motherfuckers have to be paid.
Right.
They have to be paid. And this is the way that the PGA Tour decided to do it. Now, here's the thing. Once this goes through, okay, and once it happens, the tour is past the point of no return. Past the point of no return. No backward glances. They're past it. You know what I'm saying? Like Phantom of the Opera said, this is the way golf is. It's a huge, huge change from what it is, because basically what it comes down to is these other events are going to be great events. They're going to be fun to watch. They're going to be great for DFS. But those are basically feeder events to get yourself into the top 70 and make that real fucking money.
I was just trying to find the thread because the thing is he was saying like a couple of the points. I just bring it up because he said like it's hard to redistribute it because of how it's already built in that way. Like the new events will deliver the best players playing. So
I agree 100%. That's great.
And then
I'm not saying the shit is bad. I'm just saying they did it for money. But everything else is good.
Those guys are already getting money.
Great events with these top-heavy, unbelievable fields. The weekends are going to be stacked. These leaderboards are going to be incredible, but they did it for the money.
But like John Rahm doesn't give a fuck about this. Whether he makes 30 million or 29 million or 27, like it doesn't matter to him. So they're not like, yeah, it just keeps him paid, but he was already getting paid this year. I'm saying there's clearly
he made
other
$10
reasons.
million in 6 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm counting this year. I mean, they're doing these elevated events. Now they change it to make it even, to spread the money to even a smaller amount of people.
Right. So moving the goalposts, though, this was about why did they go to the no-cut smaller fields, not why did they change last year to bring designated events. That's my point. It's two different conversations. We know why they did it originally, to get these guys paid. This conversation and what people are bitching about now was all about no cuts. So maybe we're on different pages, but that's obviously why they did it last year. Why they brought it in was obvious.
They want to.
This conversation was about the no-cut events. This was about the no-cut events in the designated events, why everyone gets a free made cut. Did they have to do it? No. Do I like it? No. I'm saying Nathan Hubbard, who's Mark Hubbard's brother, made some good points on how it actually is going to help the PGA Tour, which then helps the fans and the people involved to get better golf and different tournaments.
There's no doubt in my mind it's going to help.
But we need them to stay relevant.
Look at these elevated events. They're sick that we've seen. These leaderboards have been insane. The viewership's going to go up. And now that you're guaranteed that these guys aren't going to miss the cut, you're going to get these leaderboards every fucking elevated event. My point is the whole shit started because the PGA needed to pay these motherfuckers more. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I got no problem with them taking more money.
Sure. We knew that was the case, though, when we discussed that on this same pod last year when we introduced designated events. My take is solely based on everyone bitching about these no-cut things. And that's what the thread is about, because this new thing
about the no cut.
I know, but I'm saying it's not just about the money. Like he said, we complain that the PGA Tour doesn't do a good job of highlighting the incredibly cool stories. Where's the cut cam, all this? He said, now we get some of that stuff because some guys at the Honda are now playing in for a chance to then get into a designated event, 50-man no cut with big money on the line that could change their life. Like it's all still part of the
great.
story.
That's going to make those tournaments interesting as hell too.
More interesting than we have right now.
Arguing about the same thing, bro. I don't know. I don't understand, because all I'm saying is everything you're saying.
You're talking about last year's
to get better
with the news that just came out on Friday or whatever. That's my point.
Yeah, but I mean, it's more money. The cut. I don't care about the cut. The reason why they cut it to 70 was to get more money into a smaller group of people. It's the same amount of money. It's not like they're cutting back.
You're allowed to get into that group of 70, is what I'm saying.
Of course you can. That's going to be exactly what I'm saying.
That makes it better. So it's not all about the money. Those guys are already getting paid. They're already making money.
I don't know, man.
Exactly.
You can think the way you think.
For the listeners,
the reason why they do
the answer is this. Kenny is arguing about something we discussed last year. I'm arguing about the news he originally brought up that came out on Thursday. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's still more money to the top players because you're cutting the people who play in this in half.
The good players are going to get to the top and win these designated events anyway. Look at Rahm. It's worked. Like you said, he was getting the money no matter what. He doesn't need it to be a no cut to make it work. Maybe a bad example.
I'm not the biggest fan of the no cut, but it's only 8 events. I mean, if 8 events,
fucking enough to matter is my point.
I got no problem with that.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Go to listener. Let's go. Good times. We haven't had that in a while, so I'm glad we got that out.
Different it's good.
worlds,
I think
but yes,
we might have been arguing the same point and yelling at each other, but that's okay.
Old man yells at cloud. I do want to say before we get to Listener League winner, Listener League this week up to 1250. And they've told us we'll get to 1,500 for the Masters if we fill this one. So this is the one we got to fill the fastest. Last week was great. You guys filled it, I think, in 24 hours to get 1,200. It's a little bit less paid out, the top 15%, but it's double your money to last place. It's $1,000 to first. It's $100 to 10th. Very balanced, reduced rake. Everything is good about it. People are loving it. 3 max, $5 tournament. So hop in there. We got the winner from last week. Kenny, you got his name and information up?
PJH 5165 with Nittany Lion over on his avatar. I've definitely been to Penn State. I saw a Penn State Michigan game in college. That was a lot of fun. All right, so he started off. Rory McIlroy, 30% owned. Of course, he finished in second. Finau just playing garbage, but still getting top 25s. He's playing like ass, but he's still just top 25s every event. He was 10% owned. He finished 24th. Cantlay, who I got to stop fading Patrick. His whole thing about Bermuda and like not being able to play there. Like the guy, I think that's done. I think the guy is unbelievable. I was really hoping that people would look at his course history this week and be like, I'm not going to play. But I think every single betting card that I've seen has Cantlay in the card. He might be one of the chalkiest people out there, and that makes me angry. But he finished, of course, in I think fourth place, 13.5% owned. Killer Keith Mitchell, 27% owned, finished top 25. Davis Riley, Mr. Florida Kid. I think all of his top finishes have been in Florida. Then he like runner up at like Valspar last year. Yeah. He's like a Florida boy. 3% owned. And he finished in 8th. And then Webb Simpson out there doing his thing at $6,300, the 7 birdie streak on Sunday, 0.5% owned. He finished in 24th place as well. What'd you think of the lineup? 2 guys in the 6K range.
Yeah, it was aggressive for sure, right? Like you said, you got Rory up top, 2 9Ks, 8s. One thing is for sure, we talk about this all the time, the roster construction, not who you play, how you play them. This is a prime example. No 7K guys. The 7Ks last week was like the whole world, right? Like I'm just trying to go back to it and see, again, could the lineup have scored more points or could there have been some 2v2s and changes that he made? But just going back to look at last week, I think I've got it up here, the API. Yeah, it was like, who do we have? Connors, we had Chris Kirk, we had Seamus Power, Taylor Montgomery, Keegan Bradley, Minwoo Lee, Aaron Wise. Like there was all these guys that people were going to, and you had to, at least at some in that 8 to 10% range. And he just said, forget it. I'm skipping it all. And I'm going to take a shot on Riley and Simpson. So definitely like that about it. Made sense overall. Good score. 498, just, pretty solid versus the rest of the field. So shout out to PJH. We got them into the 3-man for this week. I think you got to set up a new 3-man too, because it's still, I was in it today. It was the winner from last week. I just exited it so we could get the new one set up. I think it was on recurring. And then he joined it. So we'll get it fixed up for PJH. Yep. And then I saw PJH already joined the Tournament of Champions setup. So good job to them. Congrats. And we'll see them in the 3-man this week.
All right. That sounds good. Let's get to this week, finally. Top golfers in the world. They're going to head to Ponte Vedra, Florida for the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass. One of my favorite courses. Definitely went down there a few years ago. Had a great time. Great event. With a total purse around $25 million. Every golfer is going to try and come here and try to earn a healthy paycheck and test their skills on a difficult course. Another reason golfers tend to like this course a lot is because any type of golfer can win here. There is no like specific type that consistently does well here. Everyone has a chance, as you can see with some of the past winners at TPC Sawgrass. Tim Clark, KJ Choi, Stephen Ames, Fred Funk. They've all won here in like the past 20 years. Paul Goydos has like 2 top threes. So I mean, it's like 2008. Like I said, like everybody has a chance. I mean, if you look at the runner-ups from the last 3 years, it's like Jim Furyk, Aaron Rye, and like somebody else that like no one really knows very well. Those have been the runner-ups the last 3 years. That's why this tournament is great. That's why it's can be sort of difficult to predict. For DFS purposes. There's so many dangers on this course, and everyone can fall victim to this at some point during the week. The tournament moved from May to March a few years ago, so there are some differences on the course compared to when they played in May. The biggest difference probably the greens, the rough, and the wind change. The greens are overseeded with Poetry Trivialis and a little bit velvet bent this time of year, which should lead to them being more receptive, a little bit easier to putt on as well. Some other courses that have this type of blend, Scottsdale, PGA West, Harbortown, I think does too. Those are just a couple of them that have this overseed. This could be, this could lead to better scoring conditions than when they played in May, of course, weather permitting. The prevailing winds at Sawgrass differ from March to May as well. The biggest issue is probably the last couple of holes. I know like Tiger a couple of years ago said on 18 that he would hit like, 9-iron driver like wedge onto that. But like with the wind in the face, you go driver like 7-iron for Tiger. And Day said he would hit like driver 5-iron. So like the wind switches can make this course, especially those last 2 holes coming down the stretch on a Sunday, play a lot more difficult than they used to be and a lot longer. Weather, huge factor last year, and played a part in many iterations of this event. As of now, like Monday afternoon, I don't see anything crazy, 15-mile-per-hour winds throughout the week, pretty comfortable temperatures, but it's Monday at like 5:30. So, shit can change. Make sure you check up on wherever you need to check when it comes to Wednesday afternoon. Few trends. This is from Jeff Ulrich over at the Fantasy Grind on Twitter. Great follow. 10 of the last 12 winners have had a top 5 prior to their win in the same calendar year. The last 15 winners have had a top 25 here before their win. The last 6 winners have had a top 25 in the prior tour start before their win. All right, now TPC Sawgrass, Pete Dye design, par 72 course that plays around 7,200 yards with 4 par 3s and 4 par 5s. 3 of the par 5s are reachable by most, and the par 5 ninth can only be reached in 2 by the longest of hitters. There were a few changes to the course 4 years ago, 5 years ago. The bunkers have been redone. Another water hazard was added, like they needed more fucking water on this course. And the 12th hole added a new tee box to make it drivable, a drivable par 4. And most importantly, many of the green complexes were redone, and the grass on the green switched from Mini Verde Bermuda to Tiff Eagle Bermuda. Now, of course, it's overseeded now. With the date change, overseeding, and the fact that the greens are now 4 or 5 years old, it's possible that the greens will be more receptive than they have in the last couple of years. We sort of saw it a little bit last year. Now, off the tee, golfers will face narrow tree-lined fairways with bunkers and water in play on almost all shots off the tee. There's a lot of water on this course, 24 acres of water. To be exact. Like most Pete Dye designs, many different types of dog legs on many of the holes. This will lead to players hitting less than driver on many of the holes played this week. The rough is actually up this year. Last year it played 2.5 inches tall. This year, 3.5 inches tall. The thing about it is when you overseed that with that Bermuda rough with rye, it tends to eliminate those sunken balls that you see, or those patchy lies that you see in Bermuda rough. So, with that, I think that's probably why they rose the rough a little bit, because it hadn't been that difficult the last couple of years to hit it out of this rough because of that overseed. Guys are getting good lies, routinely. Unlike when it was in May, when it was pure Bermuda, and you get those balls that just sink and disappear, and you're like, where the fuck did the ball go? With this overseed, you don't see that as much. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but you don't see it as much. Now, missing it on the right side can make the golfers' approach shots even more difficult because of the stadium mounds that they got here. They got these like spectator mounts on this course, all on the right side, because Pete Dye, he wanted the people to be able to like see everything clearly and give them like an elevated view when watching the golfers. Now, the problem with this is, on approach shots, a lot of the times water is on the left. So they're hitting on these mounds, and they hit on the right side of the mound, baseball stance. It's almost an automatic hook. So it makes that missing on the right, a little bit more dangerous because you're going to have these right to left type lies for your approach shot, and a lot of water is on the left side of these greens. Now, let me try and find out where I was. Now, again, a lot of water surrounding these greens, bunkers surround these greens. And once again, water, and it's about medium-sized greens. They're not too large. They're not too small. They are, multi-tiered, undulated, and tricky to putt on, which is a very typical Pete Dye design since 1982. And a lot of this has to do with them playing this course for so long. But there have been more 3-putts on this course than any other non-major course on tour. So basically Augusta. That's the only other course that can compare with 3-putts for that players play on tour now. The course uses, of course, the Tiff Eagle Bermuda grass on the greens. They're going to be fast with stick meter rating of about 12.5 or above. The outcome of the tournament probably going to come down the stretch. Those last 2 holes are tough, like I said, especially if the wind in your face. 16 is a par 5 where, you can get Rafael Cabrera-Bello had like an albatross a few years ago on 16 and like vaulted them up the leaderboard. So, a lot of crazy shit can happen on those last 3 holes. Now, again, this is a tough course. You're going to have a shit ton of water. 18 played 2,000 strokes over par since 2003. People are going to struggle. This tournament could definitely be won or lost on these last 3 holes. Tampa, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
Yeah, I'll take it a different way because you talk through it so much and it's so perfect that just going through it is easy. But I want to talk to a little bit, like I said, strategy-wise. So we talked about the weather debacle from last year. That'll be something we'll keep an eye on for this year. The one thing it brought to light last season was that not many people stack. I think it was 90 3% of the field didn't stack at all. It was like 6%. The wrong wave that I was on with Mayo and some others, we went the wrong way, ended up being the other wave that crushed at like a 1% ownership for fully stacking that way. So if you are going to stack waves, sometimes it is good to mix them both. But I think the big thing you talked about, or that you spent the most time on, which is just so true here, is the variance, right? All the water, all the, like, the chalk just gets destroyed here every single year. So you do have to pick and choose your spots. I don't just want to fade chalk blindly. I know some do out there. That's definitely a way you can go about your business, because then you don't have to worry about it. And then sometimes, almost like how our Listener League winner won, there were 7K guys that got there, like Keegan was one of them. But if you just skip it, you may miss it. Like if a bunch of other ones miss it and you just don't have Keegan, you might still find your way to the top. Same thing here. You can just avoid all the chalk and try it that way. There probably will be some good plays, but I wanted to spend a minute on the pricing. Kenny, first time all season, and it doubles down, like we talked about or argued about. You do get these stronger fields. You get those softer pricing every year in majors. Now with designated events, we see it even more. Now this week, it's a little different. I've already had a few people message me and be like, John Rahm, almost 12K. They switched up pricing. It's the same at the bottom. It only goes to 6K, so on and so forth. But the difference is, Kenny, being the players, being the strength of field. I know it's not the strongest that it once was because we're missing the live guys and all that stuff, but still very strong field. You do have legitimate guys in the 6K range. This is not like, and the reason I bring this up is because early thoughts, we're about to get into the tiers, Kenny, but early thoughts, it looks very easy to build a nice balanced build that you're going to feel very good about this week. Once you go with those 7K range, there's so many studs that are quote unquote studs up top, but sorry, there's so many studs up top and then quote unquote guys that people like in the 6K range, like the darlings is what I was looking for, that people want to play, that you can make that lineup of 6 guys that everything looks like the winner. You build it, you're like, oh, that's the winner. Oh, I built this lineup. That looks good. But then you start realizing, you know, it feels safer to go with one of like a Sung J Im, or let's say like a Cantlay and a Corey Connors, versus going up to a Rahm and then dropping way down to those low 6Ks and that type of version. So the one thing I will say is just to keep in mind, it's not a US Open, in the sense that at the US Open, when you sometimes see this pricing, you have amateurs and qualifiers and old guys and former things like that at the bottom of the field that you just can't even play the guy up top. It almost screws you, where you kind of have to go look at those balanced builds are very close to it. Here, I just wonder if many people are going to go balanced and avoid the Rahms, maybe the Schefflers, the Rorys, those guys. Again, they'll get some ownership. It's a major-esque field, but I think the balance builds will be plenty more popular. So keep that in mind. There's definitely ways to get the Rahm builds this week. He's been going under-owned these last few events that he was winning, and then this last one he was under-owned, but he didn't end up doing much after day one. So to each their own. I'm definitely going to look at playing some Rahm still. We can talk about it, though, in the tiers.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get to these tiers, 10K and above. I mean, first off, the only guy I think I know I'm going to play is Rory.
Yeah.
I'm going to play Rory. The guy's playing exceptionally good golf. He has the history here. You know, he's won here before. He won the year I went. If I remember correctly, I think he was in the second to last group on Sunday, and it might have been Fleetwood and Rahm behind him.
He took out Furyk. I know that. Poor
yeah,
Jimmy.
yeah, I think, yeah.
I think it was the first year of Gold Boy, too. I think it was the first year they swapped to the bald gold thing. And
I never understood that fucking Gold Boy shit. That shit was just crazy to me. But, you know, Rory's the guy. Now, I think I'm going to play the lowest owned out of Scheffler and Rahm, and I'm guessing that's going to be Rahm. I'm gonna play Rahm. I think he's gonna be under owned because of his price and because of how poorly he played last week. Now, you know, I can forgive a guy for not playing well 1 week. You know what I'm saying? I mean, especially if his ownership's going to take a precipitous drop. You know, and that's sort of my strategy going into these elevated events. I'm going to play my one favorite guy in the 10K range, then play the lowest owned guy in the 10K range. I'm going to play a couple of my favorite guys in the 9K range, and I'm going to play like one of the lowest owned that I think has a chance in the 9K range. Same with the 8K range. You know, I've been doing it, and it's been somewhat successful. Like GPPs, like I won $224 in GPPs this past week, and I put in 255. And so that because I had a shit ton of speed, who was 6% owned. You know, I had a shit ton of Scheffler, who was the lowest owned guy in the 10K range at like 14, 16, 18%, depending on what tournaments you were in. I think that's the strategy I'm going to go because everybody's so good from 8K and up. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you're going to find like you do worry about injury with Fitzy, you worry about injury with Willie Z, you worry about injury with Decky. But I mean, like, you find those single digit owned guys in this range, and for them to pop is a lot more likely than say a 7K chalk guy or a 7K guy that you're just throwing in there who's 2% owned. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's how I like to build in these elevated events when I'm mass multi-entering. Pick your favorite, then go ahead and pick the lowest owned guy, or one of the lowest owned guys down there that you like. I think that's a good strategy. Other than Rory, I don't know who I'm going to play. Probably wrong because I think he's going to be the lowest owned. Tambo.
Yeah, I think I'm going to focus mostly on the three guys up top. I'm going to kind of pair everything in here like 9K and up because then you can go over it. But I am going to focus not just playing the three top guys. Say from 9K and up, I'm going to focus more on the top heavy builds by the looks of it. Just because, like I said, I think there's definitely options down below that we can use to make it work. Will I have some of both? Of course. But I'm saying if you're looking at comparing here, like Xander always gets love. Max Homa, lately especially, and for good reason. I get it. Always gets love. The ball strikers, Kawa and JT, are going to get love. Like, that's just how you're going to see it shake out. I do think Cantlay is a good play, and it's mainly based on his price, Kenny. Again, you can make him work different ways. You could start your lineups with Cantlay. You could have him as your second guy in. Like, you can do it a couple different ways. I haven't tested it. Maybe not your third guy in, but just looking at it, it sets up where his price versus his odds and all that, it just gets tough. Now, if he gets to like 30% ownership or something this week because of that, that's when you have to look to make pivots, right? That's when if you see guys come above and below that are getting squeezed because of him, then you can start looking at that. And that's why, it's not just because of ownership. It's right when you're saying that he's going to be 20% owned, he probably is okay at that versus the guys around him because it still counterbalances with what I think how he's been playing, what his game looks like, his talent all around, his upside, all those factors. Versus when you start adding it in, then I have a little bit of a challenge with it. But up top for sure, Rom, the fact he's $1,200 more than a guy like Scheffler, that's, just a key. I'm going to stick with playing him. I did it last season. It didn't work. I've done it this season so far. It's been great. Last week was a letdown, but he started off strong again. I think it's just going to be, knock that away and move on to the next one. I don't think people are going to be very comfortable because the lineups definitely don't look as good. But if you can get that through, we'll see how it shakes out. Rory is the other guy over Scotty because Rory, like you said, just looking at it, early at least, Rory's, the history you've got, the overall game, it's really tough. And that's why, like I say, just picking between those ones. The ones that you kind of have to let down are like Homa, Morikawa, JT, Fina I actually like, to be honest. But then you got to let off the Ims, the Hovlands, the Zals, give up those guys. So up top, sort of up there and above, Kenny, Rahm, Rory, Scheffler, Cantlay, and maybe Finau. It's kind of like the main five in there just because Finau is looking pretty solid, man. Like you said, he played very poor. Like he didn't do anything, and he was still in the mix. And you just go and look in general. I know it hasn't been the best here. People are going to see those missed cuts, but look at his recent. 24th could have played a lot better. 20th could have played a lot better. 14th, 9th, 16th,
it's his C
7th.
game that he's got right now.
Yeah.
And a spike round or two is coming. I mean, it's
got
Tony.
The upside exactly to do it. So
a spike round or two is
it.
coming for Tony. I like that play in the 9K range. I think he could be overlooked as well. He could be one of the ones that fall into that, one of the lower owned in the 9K range where I'm going to go ahead and click his button.
Do you think more people will go, because you're going to this range anyway, do you think more people go JT or Finau?
I think JT, just because of the win and, the history here. And, so what I'm going with my cash game cornerstone this weekend, we'll go into this 9K range, and basically 3 of them are in the 9K range. I won the last one's 8,900. But my first, what I'm looking for this week is ball striking, like masters, right? Who have had at least some success at this course, because there's a lot of guys who just sucked ass at this course all the time. And so it's a lot harder to judge based on course history. And I'm not taking too much course history into account at all when it comes to GVPs, but in cash, I'm going to go ahead and take, ball striker, extraordinaire, who has had at least some semblance of success here in the past and who has good form coming in. And 2 of those guys right up top. First one's going to be Max Homa. The guy's been striking the ball amazingly. He has some decent finishes here, a couple of top 25s at least. He's playing exceptional golf. I think he's gained his ball striking in the last couple of weeks. He's gained 8 to 10 strokes ball striking. I mean, it's been wild. The guy's been really, really strong. It's a putter. It's sort of been failing him just a little bit. You get that putter back this week. I love Homa. First cash game cornerstone. Second cash game cornerstone is going to be Justin Thomas. If you watched his round, especially on Saturday, I mean, Saturday's round was so depressing because the guy was just sniping everything to 15 to 25 feet. everything, hitting every green, 15 to 25 feet, just couldn't fucking make a putt to save his goddamn life. He was awful. But the thing is, you saw like a glimmer of hope in round 2, where he gained 3+ strokes putting, around 3 strokes putting in round 2. He ended up losing like minus 0.06 because he lost every other day. But he did all right, and hopefully he can get that going a little bit more than just one round. If he had a spike putting round, if he had 2 spike putting rounds, he would have won the event. Just because of the way he's hitting the ball. So give me those 2 guys, and I'm just going to go ahead and go my third cash game cornerstone, $8,900. Victor Hovland, he's putting up some gaudy ball striking numbers once again. The guy is just out there striking the ball off the tee, hitting 16 of 18 greens at fucking Bay Hill on a Saturday with still like 15-mile-per-hour winds. That's sick. The guy is just unbelievable when it comes down to it. You got to expect a big win is coming from him at some point in time. I have him as my one and done this week. I think this could be, I have bet him, this could be the week. People are a little bit disappointed. So many people on him last week. I don't think we're going to get like an ownership drop, but, we'll see. Other than that, I like Finau a lot. And then Cantlay. The thing about Cantlay is if he's going to be the highest owned player on the slate, I think it could be worth a fade since he's, never made a cut here ever in his life. Only two times, but he's never made a cut here in his life. And that could give me enough to not play him if he's going to be 28% owned. But if he's not, if he's like 20 or under, it just makes sense to play him, and I'll just double him up, make him one of my highest owned, because tee to green, the guy's been fucking unbelievable. Like 20 strokes tee to green, gained in the last, or ball strike in the last 2 weeks that he's played. and the thing is, he's not usually good on courses in Florida. He's been balling. So obviously the game is in an upward trend, but like I said, he's 30% owned. This course is where chalk comes to die a lot of the time. So I might pivot off of him if that happens. Tambo.
Yeah, 8K range I'll go to because you already talked to those guys, but just in general, that's the other thing too. The should note the $25 Millie Maker this week, Kenny. That's where I'm saying I think if you can just get off some of this 9K range and just go to these studs and do like a ROM with 1 to 9K and then take some 6K risk, or do ROM 3 8K guys and drop down. That's where I'm saying more so. I think it makes a lot of sense because most people in that tournament are just going to try for their shot at $1 million, build the most balanced, simple lineup that looks good, that everyone fits and they feel good about. That's
you got to have at least one uncomfortable position.
I like
in each lineup this week.
We never know. It's all how it shakes out. But yeah, I'm saying in a higher dollar, smaller field build, sometimes that you want that made cut equity in that potential sort of floor ceiling combination, but you can get it just the same the other way. So it's just what risk you're willing to take on. That's how I'll clarify and bring it up that way. I like a lot of those guys you mentioned, but I can definitely see some builds where, like I said, I go with just them or without them altogether. So going to this 8K range, you talked about it. Willie Z, if I knew he was healthy, would feel a lot better about it. It is interesting, how it shook out. We thought he wasn't healthy. He crushes. Everyone says he is healthy and he's getting ready for Augusta. Last week's an off week, but probably still take on the risk.
I will say I watched a lot of him on ESPN Plus. It didn't look like he was hurt.
Yeah, it's just bad round.
He didn't play well. It didn't look like he was injured. He wasn't like how Spieth, when coming down the back nine, he sort of looked like he was hobbled. Rumors that he has some type of back problem. We don't know. The on-course reporter asked Greller in his round, in the back, and Greller said he was fine, but who knows in the middle of, war right there you're going through and what the caddy would say. He doesn't want to give out all the information out there because it definitely looked like Jordan was tender. But for me, Zalatoris, I watched 40 holes that he played because he was on the featured groups and he was on there on Saturday. I don't think he looked injured.
Yeah, and again, you can just have a bad week and then come back. Yeah. We're talking about Rom, and this is at a much cheaper price. Rom did worse than him, cost more, and we'll still go back. And I know he's got the wins, different game we're talking about here, but Zalatoris obviously got his W last season and has been coming through plenty in those majors and stuff. So going back to him, I don't really care about that stuff. I'll wait and monitor it and see if we hear anything more or closer to. But as of right now, not a worry. Fitzpatrick, everything lines up for him here, so I think he'll pick up some steam. Some of these guys will, but I'm going to go back to Cam Young. He came 10th. I thought it was going to be his week last week. It was not, but it was close. Had a good week, so I like him. Hatton continues to play well. I think he's fine. Again, play him on these courses that I think he can come through on. Tom Kim, I bet him at 50 to 1. So I'll talk more about that later, but I think the bets I should say, but definitely going to go to him. And then Jason Day will be popular for good reason. Again, the guy just continues to play good golf. So why are we not going back to him? Obviously, he's got the history here. So I'm going to be in on those guys, Kenny. What about you in this 8K range?
Shane Lowry. Lowry is my favorite play
Okay.
in this range. The thing is, a couple weeks ago, he had a really good finish, strong finish. It looks like he's over whatever problems he had last week. He didn't really finish that well, but he made the cut on a course he had never made the cut before in his life. I think he had 3 or 4 missed cuts at Bay Hill, or maybe even more than that. And he came out and at least made the cut on a course where he has struggled on. And that shows me a little bit more than, it shows me a little something. The guy's out there. He's had good history here. The game, doesn't 3-putt that much. His short game's fine. He could play well. He could do all right in the wind. As long as it doesn't rain, he should be okay. All right. So I do like him. I'm going back to Willie Z. Like I said, I watched a lot of his round. It did not look like he was injured. It just looked like he was a little bit off. That's something that he could fix, hopefully, on the range. He can come back. It's not like he was horrible ball striking either. Of course, the majority of it came with his putter. And, before last week, he was top 50 in strokes gained putting for the year. He had been putting decent. So hopefully that comes back. The ball striking stays. I do like Willie Z down here a lot. Fitzpatrick, I don't know. I mean, did you see his Sunday? He hit 1 fairway, 7 greens, shot 69 at Bay Hill. I mean, I don't know what to make of that. I honestly don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Because he played pretty horribly on Saturday. And then Sunday he's out there. I don't know what he's doing. 1 fairway, 7 greens, shot a 69. So I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. If I can get him low owned, I'll probably go back to him. To Tampa, let's go to the 7K range.
Yeah, a few guys here just standing up top. I think, again, it looks like this is where people are going to go sort of in that 7,500 and down. I think that's where it gets more popular. So up top, there's an interesting one, Kenny, right out of the gate. Sam Burns is 70 or 80 to 1 in some places this week.
He looks
I know
broken, man.
Yeah, he looks like it, but until he's not, right? Like, this is the thing. $7,800. How many wins did he have last season? 3?
The problem I have with Burns is he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing in his setup anymore. Like, if you watched the way he's setting up to the ball, he is aiming so far left with his shoulders, but his feet are it's weird. Like, I don't know what is up with his swing. It's not like anything I've seen him try before. I don't really know why he's doing it. Go to Travis Fulton, at Travis Fulton on Twitter, and he goes over Burns' setup, and it looks really bad, like a guy who's lost. Like how Spieth is on 5-foot putts and in. It seems to me that's the way it is for Burns, but for ball striking, which is probably worse. Again, talent's there. You can go out there, win, but I can't get on board with him. Who else do you like?
Yeah, I was going to say that is definitely something to look at. It's more the betting number I like, but just seeing him here at 7,800 is tough to avoid. So for me, at least, Theegala playing some good golf. I think
that's the play.
Yeah, I mean,
Theegala's the play.
Theegala looks really good. Rose has a little bit of, it's more old course history before the changes and stuff were made, but just the guy did just win 3 events ago. So maybe he can find that magic. I think he's a guy you could play to come through here. I think Siwoo obviously has everything going for him. Again, when he won here is technically before the changes, but all the other stuff and the other courses that he plays and all that, to me at 7,600, I could take a shot at him. And then I'll go into the bottom range right quick, just because I'll start it at least. Like Keegan, Connors, probably Keith Mitchell. All these guys are going to be super popular. So that's where you got to make your decisions, because this is the range that's going to be where people land, Kenny. It's just so easy to build 2 or 3 of these guys. Harmon, again, I don't know if people go back to the well or not. Probably should. I know it was ugly last week, but go back to a guy like him, maybe. Seamus Power, been playing some good golf. Ricky, those guys. But I fear this is going to be the range where the chalk goes to die. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out as the week goes on.
Yeah, big Theegala fan. He seems to step up in big-time events, plays up to the field. I think the upside is there. Top 10, top 5, it's possible. I really like Theegala here. I love Keegan. I bet Keegan. The guy's been playing exceptional golf for basically a year now. The course history is there. I bet him 65 to 1, I think, is the number I got. So I like him. Some other guys that maybe that will fly under the radar. I'm playing my Korean brethren, Siwoo, the guy. For when it comes down to this type of course, he has what it takes to win because we've seen him win this event before. I don't mind him. He'll probably be single digit owned. So I'd go with a little bit of Siwoo. I really like Adam Hadwin. Another guy who he's had his ups and downs here, but very, very consistent guy. It seems like this type of course where it's a target golf type of play is his type of shit. So I do like Adam Hadwin down here at $7,100. There's some other guys here, but I mean those two are the ones that stick out to me, along with Thomas Detry. Again, another guy who I think can play this course pretty well when it comes down to it. Avoids bogeys, plays par fours exceptionally well. I like Detry down here in this low 7K range. Let's go on to the 6K range.
I got just a few more because I'll do my bottom range quick because I like Henley, who 7,300. I don't mind going back to somebody like him.
What about Hoagie? You go back to Hoagie?
Yeah, Hoagie's another guy. He was one that is actually kind of interesting in that 7,400, where again people will be on Connors, Mitchell, Bradley above, Fowler, those guys. So Hoagie does fit the bill.
He makes a good pivot off those guys because the iron game's strong. You know what I'm saying? It didn't have the best week last week, but I mean, target golf type of course seems like Hoagie, where he doesn't have to pound driver all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that too. And also, if you go back and look at some of the courses that he's played well on, or like some of these positional type courses, like set yourself up, and then you've got that approach game, at least get the opportunities. Yeah. Can water be a problem for a guy like him? Absolutely. Of course. You gotta, it could be a problem for everybody. So if you're already going to get him at that discount ownership, especially right there, I think he's a good tournament play. Just looking at some other guys there, I had a couple more I was going to say, but good that you brought him out. Denny McCarthy, another guy I'll take a shot on, 7,300. Who else? KH Lee, I was going to say, TPC Lee. We talk about it. So, go back to KH Lee. I bet him at 200. So he'll be a guy I get to in a minute. Wyndham Clark.
How chalky? Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if TPC Lee will be that, if KH Lee will be that chalky because
I was talking about Ben Griffin, but go ahead and talk about Wyndham Clark because I liked Clark a lot last week.
Yeah, I don't think Ben Griffin will be either. People love this guy and I get it, but I don't think he'll actually be as popular as you think. Same as last week. He was and last week he was cheaper and he got played, but not to this crazy level. You can get overweight still plenty. And
the guys who play really good golf, it's hard to ignore him at that price.
Yeah, I think it's caught up to him in price. Like, I think it's there with what you have around him. Like, you're talking about some pretty big names. Like I said, it's only $400 more to go up to some of those big names that we mentioned. Again, it's different. So at least it gets you set up differently. But just to note, I was going to say quick, it surprised me going back through some stuff. Wyndham Clark, we always think of like this bomber off the tee and find his way out there, all these things. Like another guy like Hoagie, who actually has been setting himself up well on some of these other courses, positioning himself and having opportunities. So don't hate him at 7,100. Hadwin, I like your call there. And then JT Poston, another guy that fits the bill. And I think too, at 7K, it's more of a fair price. So I actually don't mind going to him there versus some of the other guys around him. But big thing for me, Kenny, I was going to ask you before, that's why I cut you off for the 6K range is, go right back to Kirk. Look, Chris Kirk won. And then the next week got the huge price drop. This is not a huge price drop. I think it's actually $100 more. Wasn't he 6,800 last week? But it's similar. The point of being, he's right there where you played him last week. Do you expect him to go out and win again? No. Does he have to? No, he's literally your sixth guy in most cases, if not your fifth. So you can just plug in the guy that just won is feeling pretty good, coming in hot if you wanted to. Again, variants could catch up to him here, but just in general, what are your thoughts on Kitayama and then the rest of the 6K range?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a problem with him. I don't think this course is like Bay Hill. So I think that's sort of a negative mark on him right there. I mean, he's not going to have to hit too many 200-yard shots that are going to be amazing to like 15, 25 feet like he was doing all week this past week. So I don't know, but what about Harris English? It looked like he had a couple of top 10s in his last like 4 events. He's missed like 87 million cuts here. Do you think, I mean, literally he's missed like 6, 7 in a row. Like, do you play Harris? Is that course history when it comes down to it? I need to see like something from a guy, right?
I'm definitely not worried about course history because, like you say, anything can happen to this course. You see guys that have never made the cut. And
but like seven missed cuts.
Yeah, I didn't like him anyway. I don't really care about just what he did last week. But yeah, I'm with you kind of. I'm not really super high on it for other reasons. So
yeah, I'd rather play Webb down there at 68 than Harris English. Webb's played this course well. He's won 7 birdies in a row at Bay Hill. Could be back. We'll see how chalky he gets. I mean, if no one ever in the 6K range ever goes over 10%, could Webb do it this week?
Could Webb? Oh, I thought you were just asking it.
No, I was asking. Like, no
could
one's
Webb
ever, hardly ever. Could
no,
Webb get 10%?
I still don't think so. If he does,
I don't think so either, and that's
play.
why I'm still going to play him.
Yeah, I think it would be a bad play if he did, though.
What?
That's why I thought it was hypothetical. I was going to answer you and say if he does. My answer was going to be if he does. I think it's a bad play.
Yeah, I don't think I'd play him too if it's going to be like 12% owned, like the highest. But we'll see. I mean, other guys down here that I do seem to like. I mean, okay, I never play Grillo, right?
Oh God, here we go.
The dude gained like 875 million strokes ball striking last week and lost 875 million strokes putting. I mean, for a make cut, I mean, maybe. I mean, the guy was just hitting it lights out on a course where a big boy course, I mean, like a lot of driver, and he was there, not score wise, but tee to green wise, he was amazing. I think I might take a little flyer on him this week. Svensson, another guy down here, but one guy I really like is Justin Suh, down here at 66. He could be chalky too, but this guy's talent is amazing. We've seen him with some spike rounds and some spike events here recently. He saw his best buddy Kitayama go out there and win last week. You love that narrative, Tambo. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So Suh's down there. Riley, Florida kid, maybe someone to look at. I'm going back to Molinari. I'm going back to Frankie. 4 missed cuts and 4 top 10s up in his pitch. You know what I'm saying? That's how he's doing. He played pretty well last year. He played pretty well a month ago across the pond, finishing top 5. Could the game be back? Is it worth it at 6,400? I think so. And then I will go over my cash game cornerstone. I almost forgot because it's so far down the list. And I'm going to go over why I picked Seaweed Doug Gim at $6,100 for my cash game cornerstones. So my cash game cornerstones are going to be, Homa, right? JT, Hovland, and Gim. Those are the 4 cash game cornerstones. I'm filling out the rest of my lineup with Keegan and Lowry. That's 5 guys: Keegan, Lowry, JT, Hatton, Homa, that I think can win this event. I think all 5 could top 5 this event. You know what I'm saying? You don't get that very much in cash. You know what I'm saying? I'm going upside again. And the only way I can afford those 5 guys is if I had a $6,100 player as my punt play. Now, when it comes to Seaweed Doug, he's played well here before. Top 10 last year. He missed 3 cuts prior, and he missed a cut afterwards. So form doesn't really have to be great for him to do anything here. Also, he made his last cut, and he missed a cut. The event previous before, he missed the cut by 1. His biggest strength, ball striking, of course. Once again, off the tee and with his approaches. So I'm definitely taking a wild flyer with Gim. He'll be 0.08% owned. You're right. But I want those other 5 guys in my cash lineup because I think the upside is huge for all of them. I think I bet every single one of those motherfuckers, except JT. I couldn't afford to bet so many guys up top. And so that's my strategy when it comes to cash. It's like, I want 5 guys who can fucking win. 5 guys who can win, and I got it with the 5 I got. Now, could they all fuck up? Could chalk, could they fucking miss the cut by 2,700? With my luck, that's the way it's been going, right? But the method that I'm doing to my madness, I think makes sense for this type of event. What do you think, Tambo?
I like it. Yeah, Gim obviously pops for good reasons because of that. I don't think, one thing I worry about is if you go with him, then I think people like your lineup doesn't require it. So I like your build that you mentioned, but I think when people go to a guy like Gim, it's immediately to get a Rory. And now you fill in some of the chalk in the 7K range. You're not actually as different as you think, even though you're playing a Gim who's not that high owned. It's the point of you're using him in the same way others are.
So you're talking in the GVP sense.
Yeah. My point I always make about when someone says, you can't play a guy because he's 20%. Well, if I'm playing the guy that you're playing with a 9K and 3 7K guys, but I'm playing him with no 7K guys, I can play 10% of him. I'm actually underweight you, but I'm overweight to the field on the type of build that I think is going to get there. So I'm actually way different than you are. And it's just a different strategy piece that not many people focus on. So I do keep that in mind here, but I don't mind the Gim call. I looked at some of the guys again. I did this for a lot of guys today and deep dove more than I normally do because we had the pricing earlier, just to go back some of these guys that are a little bit stronger off the tee at some of these positional type courses. Joel Damon, Emiliano Grillo. So you'll like to hear that. That was interesting to me. And if he's got that ball striking on as well, Steven Jaeger. I always like some Jaeger bombs. Tyler Duncan treated me well last time out. Joseph Bramlett, my guy, another guy that sets up well for that. And then going down, Doug Gim and Lucas Glover are the two that rounded it out, both right there at 6,100. Again, it's easier to click some of those names than others, but I'm just bringing them up because I think that's something to look at. And then I forget who plugged them. It might be in the tidbits this week if I pull it together tomorrow and find them, but somebody's on Kramer Hickok. Maybe it was Ben Coley for money. I can't remember who it was, but anytime someone like that I respect and know does their homework, picks someone like Kramer Hickok, I'm going to at least consider him when he's down here at the stone minimum of 6,000. So I definitely think that's
model. I think he's ranked super high, especially I would say one thing, if you're making models this week, I think a good way to try and look through how guys have been doing in these upper tier events is just go last 12 events, the last 12 rounds, because for like 65-70% of this field, the last 12 rounds they played have been elevated events.
Right.
So they've been playing basically just against each other all 3 weeks. So I think it's a pretty good way to go. That's one thing about these elevated events. These guys are playing against each other every week. Same guys. So, you go, 12 weeks or 12 rounds in your model. That's the last 3 events that they've played all together, especially in this early of the season where we've had 5 elevated events in 10 weeks or whatever, something like that, So I think like in the 12-week sample, and I don't know if Kramer has played, I don't think he's played all these elevated events, but I think he's like top like 10 in my model or something like that. So I guess it does make sense he's 28th. He's 28th in my model. But not, for a stone cold minimum guy, pretty fucking good.
See, that's weird too. I'm not sure. Like, again, it's all what you're going to be looking at. And that's the key, because if you look at the last 2, of course, he's going to look good. At Honda and Genesis, he played incredible. But yeah, I think when people look long-term, he looks horrible because all the other stuff that goes in with it. You plug in all those missed cuts. You're just taking a shot at 6K though, realistically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you throw in like 8 to 10%, you're good to go.
And as much, as highly as I spoke of, if it was Coley or whoever else, obviously a lot of respect for someone like him, but just in general, I'm not tailing on the bet. I don't care if I lose this one and he gets there at 500 to 1 or 300 to 1. Again, they're taking it for the same reason, because it's only a few bucks to win a bunch. But I'm saying in DFS, it matters more to me, because if that makes everything work, then I got no problem with it. So I think that's kind of like your Doug Gim reasoning in your lineup. But that's all I got down here, Kenny.
All right, let's go bets. Tambo, why don't you go ahead first?
Sure. I got Matty Fitz. Oh, by the way, this is the thing about this too. Everyone's got their closing line value. Somebody is just going to, it might be wrong, is just going to hammer the door shut on all these bets that everyone has at these incredible numbers, right, Kenny? It's just going to be, we all got these amazing bets that we love these numbers. Oh, and it dropped to this now, and I got that. Like I saw 100 to 1 on Jason Day. I seen like 90 to 1 on Homa out there. Like it might not matter when one of these guys just drops the hammer, but I'll give you mine. I got Fitz at 40. I got Jason Day at 50. Everyone's betting the same guys. Tom Kim at 50. Keegan at 66. I took the Burns at 70. And then KH Lee at 200. That's where I'm at. I may just try and drop the rest of it on a hammer. I have nobody from 0 to 30. So, or whatever you want to call it, 7 to 30. So I might just find one guy and just hammer it to pick the guy that I think is going to crush all those great numbers that I have.
All right. Mine's a little different. I didn't go with the normal, at least for the most. I went Homa 20 to 1. Hovland 25 to 1. Lowry 50 to 1. I thought I had Keegan. I guess I don't have Keegan. Lowry 50 to 1. And then I got bombs. I went Molinari 130 to 1. Davis Riley 150 to 1. Webb Simpson 130 to 1. And I forgot to mention him earlier, but I do like Danny Willett. I think he's low in that 6K. He's been playing pretty decent. I got him at 250 to 1. You guys, you can get some crazy ass motherfucking winners here. So I got a bunch of long shots, and I'm going with like those 3 studs up top that I like. So that's going to be my betting card. My one and done is going to be Hovland.
I like it.
Campbell, you're one and done.
One and done. I'm going to go with Cantlay, JT, Kawa, somewhere in that range. I'm out of some of the other guys as much as I want to play them. I've used Rory, I've used Rahm, so I've used Scheffler. I've got all those guys used up for the most part. So probably Cantlay, JT, Kawa. Maybe I have Rory in one of my two. I'm considering that, but that might be the only way I get to one of the big dogs. Otherwise, it's going to be one of those ball strikers down below.
Yeah, definitely going Hov. I don't think I'm going to change that. All right, I think that's going to be it for today. An eventful podcast. You can find my work on gupscorner.com. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30% on a membership to Gups Corner. You can find me on Twitter at KendoVT. Tambo.
Find me on Twitter at ToeTag and Tambo. Add me there. We'll have the tidbits up for this week. It's always good at a major. There's a lot of good articles out. They're out early. I'll find some good ones. Get that posted up. It's free. You can check it out. It's just a thread that I post once a week on my Twitter. So at ToeTag and Tambo. Then, of course, runpuresports.com. If you want to check it out, now's the time. If you get a month, you get 15% off using promo code Tambo15. It's all sports, one price. And then right now you set it up. We've got players, Valspar, match play, which is a huge DFS strategy. It's the last one, by the way. They're getting rid of match play. They said that sucks more than the other news to me. Valero and the Masters. So if you buy now for the 1 month, you'll get past, including and past the Masters. And that's all just for golf. You get all the other sports as well. So check out runpuresports.com. Use promo code Tambo15.
All right. It's the 5th major. Should be a fun watch. Expect fucking carnage. Let's win some motherfucking money. Degen Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up.